I really do believe that there is a lot of energy involved in our health, and everything is about energy. And so, how you feel when you're making food, and your grandmother's food always tasted better because she was making it for you, right? She put all that love in it. So, I really do believe that love should always be the main ingredient.
And I also love how you wrote on your book how like the first year with your baby or your child, like that's one of the most important years to like for them to experience and to sense things and be introduced to all those things. And I think if people thought more like that, they'd be a lot more conscious about what they eat,
The minute our children are born, they're immediately connected to us with food. And so food is our comfort. That is what makes us feel safe and loved. And that's why all our celebrations are around food and the table and family and our friends. And so it is something we turn to when we're having a bad day. We'll go, grab that thing that reminds us of our childhood and feeling that unconditional love from our mother or our father or our family or our friends or whoever you happen to have at the time. Right. And so one of the things I work with people today is trying to change what comfort food they want. I was with a man yesterday doing a grocery store walkthrough, and he's just got horrible health problems. He's very much overweight. And he's like, I can't give up my ice cream. What am I going to do about candy? And I was just like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And so, okay, big tip here. If you're a real candy craver, one of the things that I think is a better alternative so you don't feel deprived is get some really good organic dates, dates. It's a fruit. And a lot of people from around the world probably haven't tried them, but they're usually grown in the Middle East. I think they're grown in a few other parts of the world, but it's a wonderful Middle Eastern kind of Mediterranean food that is very sweet, but it's also packed with vitamins and minerals and nutrients. And that's what I have when I'm craving something sweet, is I'll have just a plain old dried date, one that has not had any added sugar added to it, and I just chew it really slowly. And I think that's also a key, is we need to just stop gulping stuff down or eating while we're running for, a class, or, eating with food coming in through our window in our car. We need to sit down and have a meal or just chew our food and really enjoy it and savor it. And I think in many ways that can benefit some people's health more than anything. A lot of people I run into, and this may not necessarily be a transition, but a lot of people have been told to cut out their salt or to not eat salt. And our bodies are meant to have those minerals in it. In fact, have you ever heard the word electrolyte?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That is quite literally a fancy medical term for the word salt.
Wow.
So salt is and has historically been more valuable than gold because we will quite literally die without it. One of the things I hear very commonly now is, oh no, I don't eat any salt. I don't have any salt in my diet. I have high blood pressure and I can't have any salt. Well, since they don't teach nutrition in medical school, the doctors don't understand that there's a difference between white refined salt that has had all the electrolytes taken out of it and high fructose corn syrup added to it and preservatives added to it. And then they add a little bit of iodine to that and tell you that, you should take it for the iodine. But the iodine dissipates when it hits oxygen, so it's really not even an effective way of getting iodine. Anyway, the first thing I tell people when I'm helping them transition to a healthier diet is to throw out all the white salt. Just throw it in the trash. Your body quite literally reads that like a poison, and it's not what I call real salt. Real salt, in my opinion, is unrefined mineral-rich salt. And when you start adding that to your diet, and adults should probably have at least a teaspoon a day. And of course, if you're eating fast food or processed foods, those probably have white salt in them. And yes, that's not good. And so that's another reason to start making your own food and not buying processed things out of a box or out through a window. But without salt in our diet, we will quite literally die. Our immune system can't function, our adrenal glands can't function, and our thyroid cannot function. And so historically, Napoleon's army died coming back from Russia because they had no salt. During the Revolutionary War, the British tried to defeat Washington's army by stealing their salt.
Wow.
And there was, people asked me, but I have high blood pressure, I can't have salt. Well, there was a study in the Netherlands that took a big group of people, both sexes, all ages, and they took this group of high blood pressure people and took half of them off their medication. And what they did is they said, instead of eating white refined salt, we want you to have mineral-rich salt. It's the only thing they changed in their diet, except taking them off their medication. And at the end of the study, they found that the people who were not on the medication but had just changed one ingredient in their diet had as good a blood pressure as the people on the medication. And then, of course, they didn't have to deal with any of the negative side effects of the medication. And so, I think that is very telling. And so these minerals are so important for our body, and I think most people are very mineral deficient. And so I tend to prefer the salts like the Bolivian rose sea salt, which is what I use personally, because it has natural amounts of iodine in it that support your thyroid. And so we need to have iodine in our diet in a natural food form. And so that's a great way for you to get that, and that's the way I get mine. But I add it to my water, I add it to my food, I carry it with me wherever I go, and it has an antihistamine effect. In fact, so many people today have like allergy problems, and I just tell them, here, have a little bit of my salt, put it under your tongue, and they will. And all of a sudden they like clear up, and they're like, oh my goodness, they have been mineral deficient, so they're getting all of these problems. So I tell people, in fact, this is what I do in the morning, is I gargle with salt in my water, and I also drink a big glass of water that has some of the Bolivian rose sea salt in it, and that's how I hydrate. And without these electrolytes, or the salt, right, our body can't absorb the water. So with our body being 66 to 72% water, we need to absorb that. And so without those electrolytes, you can't absorb the water, and your body would be pulling minerals from your body in order to process that water. So it helps you hydrate and so many things. So, I think quality is important, but also the water and salt and just adding more vegetables to your diet, those are like my 3 top key things that I think are so virtually important.
Oh, wow. Oh, cool. And what about pink Himalayan salt? I know that's like a huge thing in New York. Everyone has that, like in restaurants and stuff like that.
Right, and it's really good. It has a lot of minerals in it. It doesn't have the iodine in it, though. Having studied these salts extensively, I prefer the others. It's not that I wouldn't use Himalayan, and then if I'm at a restaurant and they actually have that offered, and I forgot to carry my own in my purse, but I just also there's another one in Utah that is mined that also has some natural iodine in it, and the brand name of that one is Real, R-E-A-L. But I know that company also sells Himalayan, so you need to check on their bottle and make sure it's the one that's mined in Utah. And so these old salts that are mined, those are oceans that were before pollution, really. So the one in Bolivia was an old ocean before pollution, when the earth still had a lot of iodine in it, and then it was sealed off by volcanoes, so that's why they mine it. But the waters today are pretty polluted. They've got plastic, and they've got mercury, and they've got radiation from the nuclear disasters, And so I prefer to use these old mine salts that are free of all that pollution and more mineral rich than the salts from the oceans today that can have, those various components in them that you may not know about.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great. I mean, you're the expert, so I'm totally gonna follow everything that you say. So that's great. No, that's just, I didn't even know about some of that info. So this is really, really eye-opening and really cool.